Welcome to writingalong.com. Today's episode is all about how genres kill writing. How do they? I've been using that word a lot in my titles, haven't I? Like a lot of just kill, because in general, writing is alive, right? So anything getting in the way of that is either suffocating it, it's poisoning it, it's stopping it from coming forth, from being the person that it's supposed to be. It's like I said in another episode, it's a sickness, and I want you to be able to be immune to them just by being aware of them. That's really all it takes with writing. Since you're the one in control of it, you can control what's affecting it and what's hurting your writing. And especially now, it's something that stops writers in their tracks. Genres. They think they need to fill a genre's shoes. And I have plenty of episodes on genres too. But this one in particular is why just boxing something into a category is going to stop it from ever really becoming what it could have been as far as a great story. Because if you think you have to stick to something, there are certain guidelines, there are certain rule books. You will be categorized. People will throw genre labels on you. Let them do that. That's their task. That's the reader. Those are people who like to do that. They just like to compartmentalize stuff. And if they struggle putting your book in a certain category, let them. Really let them have at it. Because that doesn't happen often with books. And the most interesting ones are the ones that challenge all kinds of ideas. They challenge what's supposed to be expected, what people are already anticipating, and then it's something a little different. It will be polarizing, not because you set out, oh, let me make the most obtruse, like unexpected kind of book or story or anything like that. Like, let me just make my writing so absurd and go out of my way to do that. No, you're just going to be writing what comes to you, the story that you want to tell in the way that you want to tell it. Don't think you have to limit yourself before you start, or else you're just going to be stuck. You're going to create, if you really want to, you can just abide and stick by all these expected genre rules, but that's not very enticing. It's not really sustainable in the long term. You'd kind of be forcing yourself to do it just by the nature of it, because I can guarantee you ideas that are going to come to you are not always going to fit into what you're writing. You may be writing sci-fi or something, and you get elements of historical fiction. You may be writing historical fiction, and you get these ideas of like romantic novels. Like, all these terms I think are just not really necessary as a writer to have in your common everyday vocabulary, at least in the vocabulary that you use in your mind and your internal discussions and your internal dialogues. Because it just kind of clouds up everything. It's like a fog drapes over your mind, and nothing is really clear. It's just like, and it's like you have your eyes closed and someone's telling you this is what's in front of you, and you can see, if you really wanted to, it's not profound. It's not a deep, soul-moving process. It's just realizing, oh, genres don't really matter. I'm the writer right now. I'm not really the reader, so I don't have this expectation. And in fact, I can break it. I can break free from it. And when I do that, it creates this kind of resistance. There's this kind of friction that you're causing, that you're creating. And that in itself has a wonderful effect. It has a pleasant effect because it's refreshing. It's new. It's different. It instills, it inspires, it represents change, something different. Anything that challenges is inherently within it. It has some kind of strength. And it's really amazing, because you're thinking, writing, how can that be? Like, what's a writing strength? What does strong writing look like? Really, it just looks like writing that is very sure of itself. It's very certain. Yes, sometimes it may fall short. It may not always accomplish what it's trying to do, which is, convey the stories, convey the images, convey these thought processes. But you know what? It's trying to. It's doing it anyways. And sometimes it's successful. Sometimes it's not. It's like someone talking to you, having a conversation. You are not going to absorb everything from 10 minutes of a conversation. You're just not. Sometimes during it, you're going to doze off, think about yourself. You're just going to be thinking of what you can say next, how you're going to react, what you're thinking about. And that's the nature of a conversation, of a dialogue. And that's what happens too with writing. You've got to realize that for yourself. Don't entail everything. Don't let your author personality just be defined by genres. Or I think you're going to sell yourself short, because some of the greatest writers that I admire, and they're the greatest to me because I like them. You have your own writers that you admire as well. They did genre bending things. They just avoided them and did not box themselves in. Because what happens when you do that? You become the genre. You become expected. Like, oh, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. And if you want to, cool. You may find yourself like naturally inclined towards a certain style, a certain theme, a whole aspect, an element of narrative. You'll fit into it naturally. But there's going to be a few things here and there that you're going to, when you just kind of free your mind of needing to stick to it, you're going to include, and it's going to highlight, it's going to emphasize the genres. I don't think genres are inherently poisonous or like cancerous to writing at all. I don't want to use those words as like an applicable adjective for writing as a whole, because it's just not true. I mean, they're interesting. There's a reason they exist, right? People do find themselves fitting into certain areas, but not in every single way, or else it's kind of formulaic. It's just kind of expected. And formulaic is, I mean, anyone can come up with that stuff on their own. You want to, even in the smallest way, make it your own. There's plenty of, on the outside, right, genre following authors who have quite an appeal in the world, make quite an effect. They make waves in the world. People like them, and they know them. You'll find them on their bookshelves. But why are they like it? Why not someone else who has the same kind of approach? I mean, they follow all the rules, it seems like. Is it just their marketing? Maybe. I mean, maybe later down in the author's career, they don't have to do much, right? It's just the marketing side of that. But I mean, really, for the most part, they had to earn that reputation somehow, right? They had to earn that positioning in some way, and usually it came from some kind of brand of uniqueness that they brought to it. They were themselves the writer, and the genre that they were aligned with fell upon them. And it's not something fixed. It's more like a spectrum for authors. It's not like simply a name tag you wear. I'm a this writer. It's something a lot of people do, and not everyone will essentially agree with what I'm saying here. But I would really, when most people really think about it, I don't think that just simplifying yourself into a fixed entity, aligning yourself with this non-changing, unmovable, very strict platform, medium of writing is really going to get you far as self-expression. You don't have to break apart everything if that's not what's happening naturally. If you don't feel that inclination to just rip apart genres, then don't. But just listen. Not to me necessarily, because when you're writing, you're not going to be listening to me talking. You're going to be writing. You're going to be listening to yourself, your own thoughts. Listen to the voice. Listen to the inclinations that say, hey, I want to add this into my story. Yeah, I'm doing like a mystery thing, but I kind of want to add in this element too. It seems like it makes no sense. Like no one would really understand me adding this. I don't even know why I feel like adding this into my story, but hey, I'm going to do it. You want to be there. You want to let yourself open the door to those kinds of ideas, because they're knocking for a reason. They're not just there to destroy you and shut you down. They're not trying to sabotage whatever you're writing. Quite the opposite. It's there for you. It wants to be a part of your stories. It wants to be a part of your narratives. Any little thing that change, any little change, any individualistic portion of your writing is going to shine. It's just going to highlight even more. Your style is really just going to become noted for that. Again, people are going to see it as something. No matter what, no matter how define you want your writing to be. If you're the extreme, you don't want your writing at all to align with anything, someone's going to find a place to put it. All right, you'll be an experimental, whatever, all these suffixes and prefixes that people use to categorize writing. It's just going to happen. It's easy to compartmentalize stuff. That's that. But as a writer, I mean, you know where you're coming from, and you're just coming from yourself. You're really just coming from whatever's within you. And it's nothing else. You're not forcing anything else out. If you do that, the readers will see right through it too, and they won't even attack you. They just won't react to it. They just won't listen. They won't hear it, because it's empty. You're hearing noise. It's not really. It's just repetition. It's like a parrot or something, but not even repeating themselves. Repeating yourself is okay, because you're going to do that. It's your ideas. It's your stories and stuff like that. But just other stuff you've heard, it's known. You notice it in writing, and it's why. Certain writing is more effective than other writing. I don't want to say it's better, But there are certain aspects to it that on the outside you don't always see. You don't always know why this writing kind of reaches you more than another author's, why this is more powerful than something else. It's really just because it's not obsessed. It's not just only thinking about, oh man, I don't want to fall out of this category. I don't want to fall out of this genre. I have to stick to this because this is what I do. You don't do any genre, you do writing. You're a writer. Keep that in mind. It's always the obvious, simple points like this that go so far, that goes such a long way, that when you're writing your book, that when you're writing a short story collection, anything at all, it'll all start coming naturally to you. A lot of these answers will reveal themselves to you when you just kind of accept and understand these simple principles that aren't novel in the sense of being new. Like it's stuff that you'll notice in the writers you already do admire. You'll see it in them, and you can do the same for yourself. Check out How to Write a Book in 30 Days at writingalong.com. It's a free guide I give on my website. Highly recommend you check it out. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.